Anyway, you came out tonight in a very cold weather, so I guess you are motivated. So that's a great thing. I just want to start by saying that all of you have to get this book, Think and Grow Rich. This is the Bible for entrepreneurs. It's been written, I think, in 1930 or so, and it's a great book. It will really give you insight of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, Think and Grow Rich. It's just the best book on business management and how to be in business.
What's the author's name, please? What's the author's name, please?
Napoleon Hill. Very famous. This is probably the most famous book there is on management and entrepreneurship. Just to follow up on that.
Talk about yourself.
What?
Talk about yourself first.
Oh, okay. I'm going to right now. That's what I'm going to. When I was asked to speak, the question was, what is an entrepreneur? And I thought, am I an entrepreneur? I'm a CPA, a financial planner. I have my own office. I have a staff. But am I an entrepreneur in the real terms, the way you were referring to it? So I looked up the definition of an entrepreneur. One definition says, I'll read it, one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risks of a business enterprise. According to that, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a business, I have to pay payroll, and the risk if clients don't pay me my fee, I might lose income. So all the risks I'm involved with those. So I'm an entrepreneur. But my business evolved, which meant I was an employee. I was working for somebody as a CPA. And eventually, I went on my own as a CPA. My business grew. And then I moved into financial planning, which was related. So it's all in the same field. I didn't go anywhere outside of my field of comfort. But I'm still, according to this, an entrepreneur. So that means, am I an entrepreneur? I'm self-employed, and I'm an entrepreneur. But then I read another definition, which is interesting. A person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially business, and takes the risk. And the difference between those two is the word any, which means a real entrepreneur can go anywhere. I didn't. I stayed as a CPA in my field, and I said, my comfort level. I didn't go outside of my field, even though I made some investments, but that's basically I stayed in my field. So an entrepreneur needs a certain, they call it primordial urge, a certain instinct, a certain need, a basic need to move forward, to really do something different, and find a need. And I'm looking at, I don't know if you guys heard of Got Junk. There's a company called Got Junk, very successful. This one man was cleaning up his house, renovating or doing some things. He had a boiler and some other hot water tank and some other junk in his house, and he had to get rid of it. Now, the sanitation department wouldn't take it. So what do you do with this junk? He didn't know. He called up, he couldn't figure out what to do with it. I guess there's a need for somebody to take people's junk. So he opened up a company called Got Junk. And it grew into a huge business all over the country. I mean, and that's when he went anywhere. I'm not sure, he might have been a teacher. I'm not sure where he was, but he left whatever he was doing and he went all the way left field and he's opened up a business. He saw a need. There was a need for that. So he went with it. So he went anywhere. I wouldn't go there because I'm more comfortable in financial planning, accounting. So in that sense, he's much more, has a spirit of being an entrepreneur much more than me. So, and he went anywhere and he's extremely successful. And let me tell you another thing. I'm reading over here from this book. I think you all heard of a company called Google. I'm sure you heard of that. So it says over here, the two young founders, the two partners, started in college, and he says over here, and he writes about them, did they decide to make $1 billion? They sit in their dorm in college and say, you know what, how can we make $1 billion? They didn't do that. No, they decided to develop a solution to a problem. It was hard in those days to search the internet, and they figured out a solution. And then once they found the solution, the money started rolling in. They did not set out like many of their Stanford classmates to get a job. They could have gotten a job making $100,000 or $200,000 a year. They set out to provide a service that ultimately became valuable to everyone. So everybody benefited by that. So they developed a service, and they found a need to do that. I belong to a coaching. I'm a very strong believer in coaching. I'm a financial coach. I help people with their money. So and everybody needs a coach. That's in general. I'll get to that in a minute. So in my coaching program, there was one person who was unemployed. He couldn't get a job, didn't know what to do. So he decided that he's going to go out to stand outside a restaurant in Manhattan, a very fancy restaurant, and his customers walked in, he would walk over to them and ask them if they want to have their car washed while they're eating. So, you know, he did that, and some people said yes, and he washed their car, and he got a few dollars for that. And he kept doing that night after night. One day, and he was doing a very meticulous job, really top-notch job. Clean the outside, then they let him clean inside the car, and everybody was very impressed with him. One day, as somebody left the car to be washed, he asked him, "Do you do jets, private jets? You clean private jets?" The guy had no idea. I never saw a private jet. They had no idea about it. But he said, "Of course." So the guy told him, there's a private airport in Long Island, I think it is. So why don't you go there tomorrow or next day and go to my hangar, where my jet is in the hangar, and clean it for me. He went and he cleaned it, did a tremendous job. He referred him to somebody else, to another friend of his, and so on. Today, this person who was unemployed, washing cars outside in the street, has a global enterprise worth millions of $100, and he has a company cleaning private jets all over the world. So what happened to him? He seized an opportunity, and that's what I think. I mean, you were referring to it. You know, you don't always. I really think there are three kinds of entrepreneurs. One is like me, you know, who does what he does in his comfort level, but he's an entrepreneur. He's self-employed. He's comfortable with what he's doing. Another one is he'll find a need. He's looking, you know, he'll keep an eye for a need, and when he finds a need, he'll grab it. He'll move forward with it. And the third one keeps his eye open, and sometimes the job comes to him, but he's a caliph for that. He waits, you know, he doesn't, he could have turned down and said, "No, jets? Nah, I never do that. I never." But he said yes, and that changed his life. So those three really, you have to determine which one you are in. Now, I don't know if you guys, I don't know any of you, if you work for someone, or where your situation is, but I think those are the three types of people that could be entrepreneurs. Now, not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Like Rabbi Goldman said, it's tough. I know that when I was in high school, I was always dreaming about being in business. I used to read business books. J. Paul Getty was a very, you know, from Getty Oil, fabulously wealthy man. He wrote a book, and he said, "Give me $100, put me anywhere in the world, I'll be a multimillionaire in 2 or 3 years." Because he knew that he could do it. Somehow, he had a hush for it. He was able to do it, and he was extremely successful. And I know that you refer to the hard work. It's very interesting. I compare being successful or entrepreneur to an iceberg. Many times you might see somebody, an entrepreneur, or a wealthy guy who's an entrepreneur, and you say, "Wow, this guy is driving a fancy car. Has a nice house. He's so successful." And you see the top, you know, the iceberg, you know what an iceberg is, you see the top, on top of the water. You don't see all the ice on the water. You don't see that he spent hours working, worrying, staying up at night if he can't meet his payroll. That you don't see all the extra work that goes on, and the fear and the nervousness and the tension that goes in that you don't see. You might see the top. So you say, wow, I want to be just like him. But you don't see that how many times I worked actually 24 hours straight tax season, not going to sleep, not going home. I had to do tax returns, tax season. I did it 24 hours straight through for a couple of days, and then I collapsed, then came back, and then another stretch of 24 hours. That's what we do. So if you want to be successful, keep your eyes open. That's the only really thing we can tell you. I mean, a couple of other ideas I'll tell you. You ask somebody asks, how can you get an employee? How do you evaluate an employee? I have a very easy test that I use. It's called the napkin test. I learned that from one of my coaches. What he said is, when somebody here in his office is on 2 floors. He has a main office on first floor. Upstairs there's another office, more offices. So when he interviews somebody, before they come to the appointment, he takes 2 napkins, tissues and napkins. He puts one on the floor in his office and one on the floor upstairs. And as they finish the interview, he says, let me show you around. So as they walk out of his office, he sees a napkin, he bends down and he picks it up. And then they walk upstairs and there's a napkin on the floor. He wants to see if that person will pick up the napkin. If he doesn't pick up the napkin, he's not interested. Because, and I did that in my office. When I heard that, next day I came to my office, I left the napkin in the middle of the room. I have a big reception area. I left the napkin right in the center of the room. My 5 people came into the room. Nobody picked it up. They walked around it. Nobody picked it up. Remember, David? You were there. Nobody picked it up. Which means you don't have any ownership in the business. If you don't care about the business, you don't have any ownership. It shows that you're not interested. You're coming in, you do the job, and you walk away. Why not pick up a napkin? You see a schmutz on the floor, pick it up. If you don't, you're not interested. And, and that's what I'm telling you. When you're in business, or as an employees, when you start, especially, take an ownership of the business. We watch it. I know I'm a boss. I have employees. You have employees. Believe me, I see I know when my staff is on the internet shopping for themselves. I know it. I might not say anything, but I know it. And it bothers me. They think I don't know. They think they're on the internet, they're on Google, they're surfing the net, the web. We know it. I think bosses know it, what's going on, how much time is wasted. Do the best you can, really. As you're working and trying to learn the business, be committed to the business. Really get involved. I'll tell you how I started. I was working for this guy in Manhattan, a CPA, and I was an employee. He had a few partners, and there was a sales tax audit we had to do. One of the clients was audited, sales tax audit, and he asked people, the auditor was coming in the next day, and he wasn't prepared. A lot of work had to be done beforehand. And he said, look, he's really bogged down now. It's going to take all night to prepare for the audit. Nobody volunteered to stay. I volunteered. I didn't ask him, how much are you going to pay me overtime? I didn't care. I volunteered. I stayed with him until 2:30 a.m. I didn't ask for money. Like, oh, what? If I stay, how much are you going to give? None of it. I committed myself to him. Next day, 9 in the morning, I was there. Thank God the results were good. The next day he called me up and he said, look, you really helped me a lot. I'd like to make you a partner. And he gave me clients. And from then on, my whole business took off. And when he retired, I had a business. So just by being committed and helping him and not thinking of myself, I never really thought of how much am I going to get, a few extra dollars here or there. I was always looking long term as a commitment to do that. So that's how I think, that's how I find employees. A couple other things. Do you have what it takes? How much time do I have? Okay. Do you have what it takes? Do you guys know who Warren Buffett is? He's a rich guy, I think he's number 1 or 2 in the world. He's pretty wealthy. The most successful investor in the world. If you go to Barnes & Noble or any bookstore, you're going to see in the finance section, a lot of books invest the Warren Buffett way. the Buffett way. This Buffett, supposedly they're going to teach you how to invest like Warren Buffett. Now Warren Buffett is extremely successful, and he tells everybody how he invests. There's no secret. He tells you how, what kind of companies he buys and so on, the analysis he does. But the problem is that when he invests in a company that he believes in, and the stock of that company drops 50%, he doesn't panic. He doesn't panic at all. He's got guts. He stays with it. Not too many people who read those books have the same stamina. And that's what makes him different and successful. As he said, his most famous saying is, when everybody is nervous, you be greedy. When everybody is greedy, you be nervous, which means do the opposite of what everybody's doing. And it's very difficult. And that you can't teach anybody. You can't teach anybody how to be tough. And so you have to understand yourself. Do you have what it takes really to make those tough decisions? If you have an idea, let's say you think it's a great idea, but you have a job, you have a family, you have a few children, do you quit the job and go and pursue your idea? What if you fail? I'm not, that's what I mean. It's tough. It's not easy to do that. Another thing important, like I said before, I believe in coaches, that you should have a coach. In nutrition, I believe that you should have a nutritionist helping you in health-wise. I know that Michael Jordan, you've probably heard of him, or Tiger Woods, they all have coaches. Not when they started, when they were top. I mean, as they got better and better, they got better coaches. Not to, so these, always you can say, well, I don't need a coach. You always need, because the idea is not to work in your business. Everybody works in their business. But so you need somebody to help you work on your business, which means go outside and somebody can come in and guide you and help you, looking at it from a different perspective, because many times we're so involved in our business that we don't see the bigger picture. And that's why I have a coach. I travel to Chicago every couple of months. We have a meeting over there, business, a bunch of entrepreneurs. It's only for entrepreneurs. And we work on our business, getting ideas for our business. Now, I want to give you the secret. I hate to use the word secret, but to becoming successful in business. If you want to write it down, I think it's crucial. If not, you can memorize it. And I learned that in my coaching program. Number one, to be successful in business and to get referrals. Number one, show up on time. Show up on time. Number two, do what you say. Make a promise, fulfill it. Number three, finish what you start. Number four, say please and thank you. In today's age, just say please and thank you. Those four things, if you follow those, will help you a lot in business. And